Okay, and so we're back. And can everybody hear me, first of all? No. Yes? Yes? Okay, so Tommaso, we'll see you later for your interview. If you'd like to switch off your camera, and I'll do it for you, and we'll be meeting you later on, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Right, so welcome everybody. This is a good number of people joined us for the last session of the Italian Wine Week. We're delighted to have Judith, who's a regular speaker at the International Wine Tourism Conference. Welcome, Judith.
It's been a long 2 days. You've forgotten my name 30 seconds after saying it.
I was just figuring out how to get Tommaso's slot off there.
No
but
problem.
Anyway, we got Tommaso's in because he missed his session yesterday, live interview. He's a wine producer, and we'll be speaking to him when Judith finishes up with your questions, which you can post on the chat here. Good day, good evening. Yes, that's great, but we want your questions. And fortunately, some of you sent in your questions beforehand as we requested. So I'm just going to go there and find those questions. Here we go. What I'll do is I'm going to, as well as to read them out, I'm going to post them on the chat so you know how to do it. So let's see, where are we back here? So Judith, first question is from Down Under. This is a gentleman, Jonathan from Australia, Sydney. If I am not open to the public, is there any point to putting my business onto Google?
So the Google My Business is a specific part of Google. It gives information about opening times, location, and details about your business to people who are searching for you. If you're a B2B only business, so you're only selling to other businesses and you do not want consumers to be visiting your premises, I would still recommend that you put your company, your business on Google My Business. And really, I recommend that you have a website as well as that, because you can have just Google My Business without a web presence. So you can do without Wix, without WordPress, without anything, and just have Google My Business. But you can state there that you are a trade only business. Now, the moment that anyone who's a consumer gets any hint of anything trade, they'll still try it on. So there's almost nothing that you can do as a business to business company to stop it. But I would still recommend that you put your company onto Google My Business, because if someone is trying to find their way to you, a customer, a trade customer who wants to pick up a shipment that they're collecting of wines, if you have your company in Google My Business, they'll get driving instructions. They'll know when you're open and when you're about to be closed. They'll get all sorts of information about your business that they need in order to find their way to you to pick up their order. It won't necessarily enable every consumer to find you. You can be very prescriptive and say you're trade only. So there are ways that you can define your business, and you can say that you're a trade only business. So I would absolutely recommend that at the very least, even if you don't have a website, you still have yourself in Google My Business, so somebody who orders from you can find their way to you to collect. If you only ever ship and you never allow any truckers or lorry drivers or any type of vehicle to come onto your premises at all, ever, then you don't have to bother with anything. But even truckers, even lorry drivers will still use Google My Business listings to navigate their way to your business. And if you don't own your Google My Business listings, someone else might.
Sorry, I had my mic off. I was just asking, is Google My Business a free tool to use?
Yes, Google My Business is absolutely free. It is slightly separate from Google itself, and it is a way for any merchant of any type, business to business or business to consumer, to list their business in Google, and it will come up both in Google search results and in map results. So it's a way of defining your business to Google, where you are, what kind of business you are, and what your opening hours are at the very least. But if you don't put yourself in, someone else might. And that has happened before, where people hijack other people's business listings. So it's always important to try to claim, even as a business-to-business company, all your potential points of contact.
I see. Well, I wasn't aware of Google My Business myself, so that's
you can go to Bing and Google.
Yeah.
You can go to Bing and Google My Business.
Right, we will. Okay. Now, I have from Texas, a lady is asking this. How do I attract just business customers to my wine import business without attracting the consumers online? How do I optimize my website for only businesses?
So one of the things that I've done over the years is I've worked with a lot of different business-to-business companies, and one was actually travel related. So most of you will know Amadeus. So I've worked with them in the past, and it's very difficult when people are looking for things that are related to consumer and you're targeting the business side, so the OTP or similar, and you're both searching, both the OTP and consumers are searching for the same keyword. So I understand this problem. The best way to do it is to look at the kind of searches, which will be slightly different, that your business to business searchers are making. So a lot of times people are going to go to trade portals, but what you're doing is you're trying to say to the new restaurant. So a friend of mine in Manchester, this is true. Friends of mine in Manchester opened up their own new Italian restaurant, and they want to import their own Italian wines. They don't want to have to go through a distributor, but to begin with, they absolutely had to. So what did they do? They went to Google and they searched for Italian wine import and Italian wine distributor. So by ensuring that you've got that little bit of extra on your website, so you're optimizing your title tag. So hopefully those of you who have been in my sessions before know what a title tag is, but if not, Anthony's got my slides on his site. So you optimize your title tag. So you write your title tag specifically, as well as your meta description and the content on your site that targets it for the business searcher. And business searchers have learned over time, as we all have, that you have to make your searches slightly differently. So if you're looking for an Italian wine distributor and you're in Manchester, you're going to make a different search than if you're in Manchester and just want some Italian wine. And hopefully you would find my friend's restaurant. So the key is understanding what words the person, the business, is going to use in order to make the search. So you do have to do a little bit of research, and that also is helped by either Google Ads, which is a free tool, but very clunky to use, or there are paid tools such as Ahrefs or SEMrush. And I believe I've covered those in my slides in the past as well, both the free tool, Google Ads, which you do need an account, but you don't need to be spending money on the account to use, or SEMrush or Ahrefs. Both of those will help you do research into what business customers are searching for, which is slightly different. Then your content, your title tags, all your information is manipulated in a sense to only appeal to business customers. Plus, there are things that you can do with something called schema, where you mark up or you write a little bit of extra bit in there and help Google understand your website even more. So it knows what your address is, your phone number, when your opening hours are, it knows where you are, it knows everything. Well, Google knows everything about us from our phones, but it knows everything about your website. So if you don't have just Google My Business and you have a website as well, you can optimize for just trade customers by using specific language. Now, sometimes if you're really good, not only will you rank for business searches, you'll rank for consumer searches. And that's where you put the title tag. So the title tag is what pulls through into Google, and that's hidden. It's what's on the browser bar, but also what you see in Google that you click on. And if that says distributor or trade only or similar in the title, you can dissuade, in a sense, people from clicking because they can see that it's not for consumers. So the way you put your title tag, your content, everything, and the keywords that you choose to target your website at are fundamental in ensuring that the way that you attract people, and then when they find you, how they perceive you, is that you're a business company. Plus, don't forget, if you've optimized for Italian wine distribution and people see you in Google search results, to trust that you are trade only, they'll be looking for those markers as well. So the title tag, the title of the page that you can write in, normally it's taken from the headline of the page if you're using WordPress. So if you call your WordPress Betty's Italian Wine Importers and Distributors, then the title tag usually ends up being Betty's Italian Wine Importers and Distributors. But you can change that in WordPress to be even more specific. And so that way you can dissuade consumers from coming by. You can even put in your title tag things like minimum order 250 pounds or minimum order 24 bottles or something like that. You can put a lot in the title tag, but you lose keywords. So if you're aiming to optimize for particular words that your business customers are using, you need to have them in the title, not in a spammy way. Don't just shove them in there, make them make sense. But if you also put in something like min order 24 bottles or something, you're taking character count away from other things. So balance everything based on what your business requirements are. Plus, you can actually have content that's behind a login and you can control it that way. So you could optimize for B2C and B2B and pull in everyone, but lock them out of your main website with your prices, let's say, by using a password protected page where people have to register to log on. That means Google can't get in, or Bing, or Yandex, or Baidu, or any of the other search engines, because they can't fill in a username and password. And it means that consumers can't get past that gate because it would require them signing up with an account. Now, of course, right now, a lot of wineries and wine importers are looking at direct to consumer as well as being direct to trade. So you could split your website up and have a website optimized for consumers where you don't say distributors or you don't say trade only, and then the other pages that say trade only, and you could have links moving them between the two, but password protect the trade only. So there are a lot of things that you can do to lock your website out from B2C customers, but you need to understand first what your B2B customers are searching for.
Okay, well, probably everybody's heads are spinning after that. Please do try and formulate some questions. A hidden private message here. Sally from Hampshire says, just on what you've been talking about now, the character count on the headline. Is it what is the character count exactly? Do you remember? On
So
WordPress?
it's actually a pixel width on Google. So Google has a certain amount of space it returns information to you in, and so it's that width, but it's around about 70 characters. You can get up to about 77, but I would just estimate 70 characters, and that includes spaces. Now, M takes up more space than L. So it's going to be more letters if you have a lot of I's and L's, and fewer letters if you have a lot of M's and W's. But please don't let that change your word selection.
Right. Yeah, Colin here from somewhere in Canada is again linked into what you've just been talking about, advertising, Google ads, and so on. He's saying, asking about LinkedIn ads for B2B. He says finds it very confusing, baffling, and there's some kind of bidding system and if you don't bid enough, then you don't. Does it mean you don't get in front of your target audience? Can you give us any advice on LinkedIn ads?
Sure. I don't personally like LinkedIn ads because I have used them for B2B and we got more applications for jobs than we did traffic to the specific section of the website that we wanted and the outcome that we wanted, which wasn't sales. It was people signing up to a mailing list. But it unfortunately meant that it didn't work. So we had to abandon those and they were costing us €5 a click. So this is not an inexpensive prospect, and that could be why he's having a little bit of trouble with LinkedIn ads, is they tend to be extremely expensive. It is a bidding environment. So if you are not bidding enough for the targeting that you're doing, then you will not show. So if you are a wine distributor or a wine importer, and you're looking to attract other people who are wine purchasers, restaurants, catering companies, whatever, and you're looking to target them, it can be very expensive. Now, you need to understand how much money you're going to make out of a prospective client, how many prospective clients you need to pull into the business in order to convert at least one, and then you'll know whether or not it's worthwhile to advertise on LinkedIn when you're looking at €5 or €10 a click in order to get those people through. Now, you can do it on something like Facebook or sometimes Google based on conversions. So you can actually do advertising where you base it on the actual conversion or an acquisition of a warm lead rather than an actual sort of just click. But it is still quite expensive on LinkedIn. There are a number of different ways to find your target audience in LinkedIn, but it is really, because it can be very granular, it is very easy to also not be seen by anyone because you clicked the wrong box of the wrong type of education or something like that. And so you have a target pool of 6. And that's not really useful. So it's extremely expensive on LinkedIn. You will have to pay €5 or €10 a click, and you need to ask yourself whether LinkedIn is the right place for you to pull in at €5 to €10 a click. Now, it's really good for targeting, but you can use something called lookalike audiences on Facebook, for example. And I've used Facebook for Amadeus, so this is not anathema. And also I've used Facebook for other B2B clients. If you use a lookalike audience, which is you take people who already buy from you and you create an audience from that and upload it to Facebook, they don't get their emails, they don't get details about them because it's changed, but then that information is matched to Facebook's audience recognition. It can work on LinkedIn, but again, extremely expensive. And it will only show your ad to people who look like people who are already your customers. And what that is it's kind of it's almost a type of demographic plus psychographic targeting, because you know their likes, you know what pages they visit, you know how old they are, you know where they're located, you know all sorts of things about your existing customers, and you can target related people to that pool. That is covered in one of the decks that I presented at iWineTC. I think it was Budapest. And so if you check back on the iWineTC site, you look at the historical events and you look for Budapest, I believe you'll find 2 decks there, and one of them covers information about lookalike audiences. So if you use that, then you can use that information to then do that targeting.
Okay, the question from Harriet, plenty of time. Can you give us tips on how to gain backlinks for a startup wine retailer?
This is the hardest thing in the world for anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Getting backlinks is the hardest thing and the most valuable. You cannot rank without links in a competitive marketplace. If it's not competitive, it's super easy to rank without links, but that's not the game we're playing. So the way that I usually talk to people about gaining links, if you are a wine importer and distributor, first of all, look to the consulate of the local country you're in, as well as any of the export bodies from the country that you're exporting from. So you've got two possible places that you can ask for links from. Sometimes they'll say no, but you know what? It's better to ask and be told no than not ask at all and miss that opportunity. Another thing that I do, which is a cheat, and it's not easy, but it is extremely valuable, is to choose 3 or 4 exceptionally well-performing people in your vertical. So B2B wine. So what is it? It's a wine retailer. So B2B wine retailer or B2C wine retailer, even more difficult. And look at a tool like SEM Rush, and I'll just type that in. SEM Rush or majestic.com, not Majestic the wine retailer, but majestic.com is a tool in my community for searching out and seeing what other people have as far as backlinks. Both of those tools, SEM Rush is easier. Majestic is much more difficult. So if you're a beginner, I would suggest SEM Rush. They have something called a backlink gap tool, and you can get a 2-week free trial off of them as well. If you ask them, they will give you a free 2-week trial and you can pull all the data and use it later. But what you can do is put in 3 or 4 of your competitors with your site, and you can see where they got all their links from. And then you pull that information out. You can see exactly what links they've got from what sites. You can see how many links they got from that site. And then you can target those people. Now, how do you target them? You need to have something that makes you worthwhile linking to. Either people end up paying for links, which I don't recommend because that's very difficult, time-consuming, and extremely expensive, or you can have a reason why people link to you. And I usually recommend coming up with a good piece of research like 10 ways Moldovan wines are set to take over the organic wine world. I really just pulled that out of nowhere. I don't know if Moldavia has any organic wines or if they're set to take over the organic wine world. But if you are importing Moldavian wine, maybe that's something you could do. The Italian wine market might not know about it. If you're in the UK, like my friends up in Manchester, and you're importing, or they hope to be importing Italian wine, you could do 17 Italian wines that will make you fall in love again. And you could have something like that and use content like that to attract people to your site. But it must be well researched. So you need to have a reason why you're actually building this content. 17 great Italian wines that will make you fall in love again. I call that Friday afternoon content, because if there's not a lot of research behind it, then there's not going to be a lot of insight behind it. But it's fun Friday afternoon content because, like, you know, we get to Friday afternoon. It doesn't matter whether you're locked down or not. Friday afternoon, you're tired after a week of working. And sometimes you just want a little light relief. And so 17 Italian wines that will make you fall in love again could possibly be it. And it could be a way of having some fun. But you could also do a research piece like the top 5 Italian wines, the top 5 organic Italian wines that will change your opinion of organic wines or something like that, and say, oh, the research shows that they're really low in this or really low in that, that pesticides persist in some wines, even though they're organic, but these 5 wines show no pesticides. But of course, you'll have to do expensive research in that case. But there are lots of research articles about pesticide residue in wine and no residue and blah, blah, blah. And that's one of the way I've seen either Aldi or Lidl, I'm not sure which one, trying to differentiate their organic wines. And you could do that for Italian wines. There's so many things that you could look at that other people have done and just do it one better. 62 wines that you must try in your lifetime. Or take a trip through Italy with wines. you're importing wines. If you're focusing on one region, this might not be right for you, but if you've got different Italian wine regions, why not have taking a trip through Italy with our wines paired with local cuisine? And I think you messaged me about this as well, Anthony, about marrying tapas and wine, but do something that your retailers who are selling your wines, or if you're a retailer, your customers who are buying your wines can do for themselves. Have some people over once we're out of lockdown. Here in the UK, we're still locked down. So if you're out of lockdown because you're in Italy or somewhere else, Sweden, Austria, somewhere that is freer than we are right now in the UK, you could have people over and you could say, right, I have this amazing tapas and this amazing cheese and these amazing Italian wines, and this is just fantastic. And these come from X region, which means that they are great for this. And then have people over and they'll be inspired. And you, as the retailer, have inspired them. So you need to have a reason for people to link to you, though. You can't just go out and say, hey, I sell wines, link to me, because no one will, because, there are lots of people out there like that. So those are my ideas off the top of my head of how to gain backlinks. Steal other people's ideas, or be inspired by other people's ideas, but also look at the countries that you're importing from and the consulates or embassies of the places that you're in where you've imported from. So each side of the equation, ask them, and also have a reason for people to link to you.
Okay, there's a in-depth answer.
Well, it's dangerous if you do it wrong, because you'll get penalized by Google, so just be careful.
Right. Well, keep the questions coming in. Let's go for one of the questions that were sent in prior to the this interview, question answer session. Pietra, I think that's the right pronunciation, Czech Republic. He's asking this one. Here we go. With constantly changing stock, how do I make sure Google always shows my business for the right wines?
So there are a couple of reasons why Pietra from the Czech Republic might be asking this. One could be if you're advertising and you have a Google merchant feed, then you can have that, and you're paying for stuff that's not in stock. I know somebody who was importing Swiss wines into the UK who suddenly found their budget depleted because someone with a name similar to wines was suddenly in the news. And so they all of a sudden saw their PPC budget depleted because people were clicking on that answer because Google thought, well, it sounds similar, so I'll just show it. Or they could be asking about the organic search results. So there are two ways that you can do this. If you have a Google Merchant Center feed, just make sure it's up to date. That's easy. For organic search, that's a little bit more challenging. If you have and this goes for B2B and B2C. If you have a product line, and sometimes, because especially for years on wines, we have different years for the same wine. But let's say I was born in 1970. Let's say that all the Italian wine from the region that we're looking at, whether it's in the south or the north, but obviously we're talking about the north more often, has sold out for 1970 forever. But your website had, 16 cases and you're down to your last 3 and they've just sold. How do you make sure Google isn't showing anymore? Because you don't want angry people banging down your door saying, I want this 1970 wine. It was really awesome. But it was not an awesome year from everything I've heard, sadly. So what do? The best thing to do when something goes out of stock is to use in WordPress. On the left-hand side, there's a whole bunch of tools. You have to scroll way down to the bottom, and it's one of the system tools. But you can redirect a web page to another page. So what you would do is you would ask WordPress or your website to redirect that page that is has stuff no longer in stock to the main Italian region wine page. So I'm assuming you've arranged your website with Italian regions broken down by subregions, and then you have reds and you've got whites and you've got orange maybe and rosé. And then you can go down in the reds, let's say, because 1970 was a heck of a long time ago, 50 years. you go down and you can see for each of the years that, there are different wines available. So you might have under your reds, you go down, you can see the 1970 of a particular region, and then you 301. Don't worry, Google does this for you. Sorry, not Google. WordPress does it as a 301 usually, but it's a permanent redirect because 1970, we're not making any more wine. You can permanently redirect that to the main red wine landing page for that region. That means all those links that you worked hard to get to that page are now cascading their value or their points up to the main reds for that region page, so you don't lose the value, but people can't find it. And Google, the next time it comes by and looks at the page, it says, oh, 301. That means the page is gone. Now, what happens if you're temporarily out of stock? You have two choices. You can either just put temporarily out of stock on the page, which I recommend. I absolutely recommend taking the buy now button or add to cart or whatever button off and just say temporarily out of stock. Or, and I do not recommend this, you can 302, which is a temporary redirect, that page back to the reds main page. Don't do that. It's a bad, clunky solution. It's ugly. It's awful. And only do that if you're desperate. So if you run out forever, like 1970, we're not making any more of that wine, thank goodness. Redirect, 301 redirect to the main reds category or whatever for that Italian region. Or it's temporarily out of stock, leave the page up because it is still valuable because you're going to get more stock. So let's say it's, I don't know, a Chianti, and it's a non-vintage, like it's a non-year. You never have the year for this particular Chianti. You only ever sell it as whatever it is. You have a Chianti landing page, you get what you get, and that's it. Never, ever, ever change that page because that page is where the links will go if you get any, and you can change the Chianti, you can change the picture, but keep that page. Why? For Google, it's all about the URL. So if you can keep the URL the same, Google loves it, absolutely adores it. If you change the URL, you lose Google's love. Why? Because Google doesn't know you're the same person, you're the same page anymore. You've changed your address, you've moved. If you don't put a forwarding address on your mail in real life, you don't get your mail. In the Google world, if you don't do a redirect, Google doesn't know that you're the new page. So if you just leave that old page as broken and not found, and you don't redirect it somewhere, Google loses its love for it, and it just passes out of all memory of Google. So if you want to keep the value, redirect. And that will help you keep the wines that are out of stock out of Google. 301 redirect. Out of stock, out of Google. Temporarily out of stock, ooh, keep those people. You don't want to lose them as potential customers. So have like a waiting list or some way that you can email them when it's back in stock. And that way, you'll get a lot of value out of the work that you put in to get that wine ranking in Google. So it's really important that you think about not just the one hit from Google, but the whole ecosystem of things. Because if you're not focused on what the potential is, then you end up kind of just mishmashing things together. Nothing makes sense. Google loses its love for you and you stop ranking. So always be very strategic in everything you do. The more you break down a website for Google to make Google understand it, it helps people too. So that's my recommendation for making sure that when you're out of stock, Google will no longer show it. And because you've redirected it to the main category page, what happens is links are points, basically. They're votes. And the votes, the value of the vote goes through the link to the page. If the page isn't there anymore, it goes around and comes to the page that you've 301 redirected it to, only if you 301 redirect it. And that means all those points from that wine that you no longer have go to the main category page. What happens on a category page? you link to all your wines, which means that category page now has extra points. Those extra points go to all the other wines. And so the wines you do have in stock all of a sudden rank better. So it's a whole virtuous ecosystem there. All you have to do is 301 redirect.
And do internal links get points if you internal link?
Yes, internal links share their points. They share points in a slightly different way. Google doesn't want you to be able to have all the links pointing in. You don't point any links out, and you just have points internally. And then you basically create a virtuous system that keeps everything inside, and you rank top for everything. And so it doesn't quite work that way. There are various different bits that will stop it ranking well, but the internal linking structure is still super important. So if I have a home page, normally the strongest one, and I put a link above the fold in some text to an internal page on my site, it will immediately start to rank better.
I see. Interesting. Well, we expected a flurry of questions, but does anybody have any more questions? Otherwise, we have to end the program. We've got, as I say, we've got a producer, Thomas. I think what we'll do is, if you don't mind holding on, Judith.
Yeah.
In case we get a question more, we're going to have a chat with Tommaso. But first of all, we're going to take a break and watch a video of Tommaso's winery. So if I could just ask you to switch off your mics, just in case there might be any interference, feedback. Let me just find your video. Palazzo Vecchio, right? Here we go. Okay, that was Museo Albea. Sorry about the mixing up the videos. That's so many today. So we're delighted to have Tommaso from the Albea Winery down in Puglia. Hello. That on the video, it looks very calcareous, the soil. Is it a lot of limestone?
Yes, now good evening to everybody. I'm Tommaso. And about the land, yes, we have a karstic land because we are with precision in the south of Italy, in Puglia, and in the part here we have in the middle of this region, and is very rich of stone. And for this reason, the grape is a very high quality of sugar and is very poor of water. And for this reason, we have a very high alcohol volume.
Okay, let me see. Somebody said I didn't have my mic on, but I do. Okay, well, Tommaso, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the philosophy of the state, more about the terroir, and present the two wines you have ready for us.
Sorry, I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Yes, if you could tell us a little bit about the philosophy of the winery, tell us a little bit more about the terroir, the altitude, the climate, and present the two wines you have for us.
Now, before to start, I would like to say sorry for yesterday for the delay that we had for the problem of our internet, and thanks for to be here. Now, about the winery is called Albea, and is in the amazing city of Alberobello. Alberobello is a magic city famous for the trulli. The trulli are a particular house made only by stone and representative a World Heritage Town. About this stone, we make the strong of this winery because, like I said you before, the soil is made with this stone, and the stone gives the flavor in the wine. You think that our production is totally in Puglia, where we work with about 70 hectares, from Foggia, that represents the north of the region, to the Lecce, in the south. I would like to show you the map, because this is the map of Puglia, okay? And you need to see that is the longest region in Italy, about 400 kilometers. And thanks to this, we have a very lucky, because there are a lot of variety of grape. About us, we produce only Apulian grape like Verdeca, Primitivo, Negro Amaro, Uva di Troia, and Sussumaniello. And for respect the land, we chose to produce the only white grape in Alberobello town, I mean in my city, and the red grape outside this city. I mean Negro Amaro in the south, in Lecce, Primitivo in Bari. I show you. Primitivo in the middle, and Uva di Troia in the north. This because the grape needs of the right altitude and the right climate and the right terroir to produce the best quality. About the winery is very historical because it's since in the 1905 and the representative one of historical winery in Puglia. Today, the annual production is 400,000 bottles per year, and our mission is to produce until 600,000. This because we have an important project with farmer. The name is Albea Land. I mean the land of Albea. Albea is the name of our seller. Albea Land is no cooperative. It's a private system, but made with our farmer. The farmer that believe in our project, and each year produce the grape only for us. Our work for them is to help them with the best price in the market, and help with the support of the best agronomic consulting in the region. And then we buy all production. I mean that the farmer work only for us. And our mission is to complete this process for produce all bottle for this production. because in this moment we sell the 400,000 bottle. The rest part is sold like booth wine. Okay, Anthony, I start. If you have some question, you can ask to me.
No, I thought you started.
Yes, because it's a fast introduction about wine.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's good to show us on the map where exactly Puglia is, and in relation to the rest of Italy. So, yeah, I mean, do you want to present the two wines you have for us?
Sorry?
Want to present the two wines you have for us?
I'm where?
Present the two wines. Can you not hear me?
No, I know here.
Okay. So,
Okay.
okay.
Question is? Okay, meantime, this is a Trullo. This is a Trullo, and this is at the World Heritage Town for my city, and representative the unique thing that we have in our town. This is one picture of Trullo, particularly because can remember our pyramid system, and here one picture of my town. My suggestion is to come to visit us because it's a very, very beautiful city, and of course you find amazing food and very good wine. Okay, Anthony, your question.
Yes, seems you can't hear me, right?
Okay, now I hear you. Okay.
Okay, good. No, if you could present the two wines you have for us.
Okay. Now I have the two wine. We chose two wine that representative in this moment the best possibility for our potential customer. The first one is Verdeca. It is the new label for us. I would like to show you the video, internal video, because it's very nice. It's a one story when this girl, this woman with his friends come to visit Puglia. And when come to visit Puglia, they find an amazing story that represents our life, the life of each day. For this reason, I would like to send you a link to see all video. About wine, this is the first one, is a Verdeca. Verdeca is the queen of my city. The queen represents the first and the best white grape that we have in our land. Verdeca is a very unique test because it's very difficult to have a compare with other grape. An example, if I think to Sauvignon, Chardonnay, no, is totally different. The wine is very fresh, very nice acidity. This thanks to the stone that give a good mineral salt in the wine. The alcohol is 12% alcohol volume. I mean, it's a very drinkable wine. And I would like to say that the wine is not too difficult to test. It's a wine to drink, very drinkable. It's a wine amazing with fish, with light cheese, with pasta. It's a wine that for us represents one of the best sellers because all category of people can understand immediately. This is the power of Verdeca and of this wine. I hope you like it, the style, because we study together this new style. About the second one, we chose a Gran Maestoso Primitivo. This is our very power wine because in this moment we sell this wine in 10 different nations and representative the best seller wine like export quantity. Gran Maestoso is a beautiful project made with our customer that suggests us this label because representative our territory, representative the power of the maestro, maestoso, representative the teacher of wine, I mean the winemaker, And with the very good quality wine, we win also important awards like 98 points by Luca Maroni. This wine is 2018. About 2018, I can say you that is a very good vintage. And the wine has a good time in oak, with precision 6 months in American oak, that give the wine a more flavor, like the third flavor. And then I can keep this bottle for a long time, until 4 or 5 years. These are the two wine selection for us. I would like to give you to test. Are very nice wine. I hope you can have the possibility to test in the future, or maybe tomorrow. I don't know when finish this no good period.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm sure. If you want to get in touch with Tommaso, then you have the link on the chat there, and she'll be delighted to deal with any requests. So thank you for that. 98 points. That's pretty high, isn't it?
Yes.
Did anyone get 100?
Next year. Next year.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So well, thank you for that. Judith, we didn't get any more questions, and if you want to come back in, if you're there. And there you are. So Judith, thank you very much for. I'm sure we have to watch the replays over and over again, so we can figure out how to do 301 and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's I think the best thing with the really technical bits is to look up the old decks from the iWineTC.com site, the URL that you shared, because all of the previous talks you've uploaded there. So all of the previous decks will be on that site and people will be able to see them. Or even better would be to come to the conference and see me live and ask me questions live, because I'll be covering all the basics of optimizing a website so that you can be seen on the internet, and also a little bit about optimizing the time that it takes. So cutting down the amount of time and increasing the visibility for your website so you sell more.
Yeah, and iWineTC, for those of you who don't know, is International Wine Tourism Conference, taking place in Friulia, Venezia Giulia, at the end of October. There's a question here from Claudio we can quickly deal with. I would like to ask her how to promote niche appellations along the most known, such as Verdeca and Primitivo. I'm not sure that that's for Judith or for Tommaso.
Yes, for me.
For you, okay.
Verdeca and the Primitivo are IGP, Identification Geographic Protect, and because IGP Verdeca is Valle d'Itria. I mean, Alberobello is in one valley called Valle d'Itria, where only 4 towns can produce this Verdeca and then DOC, Locorotondo. But there isn't a DOC Verdeca, because Verdeca is one of the 3 grapes of DOC Locorotondo. I haven't today for the tasting, but it is one of our best white wine. Maybe I show you the picture because I have the catalog under my hand. Only 1 second. Voila. This is the DOC of Verdeca, but is no unique grape. Is a blend of 3 grapes: Verdeca, Bianco d'Alessano, and Fiano. Instead, about Primitivo, is IGP, Identification Geographic Protect, because we have our cellar in Alberobello. Alberobello is 20 kilometers distance to Gioia del Colle, the DOC of Primitivo, and for this reason, I can't put the name of the DOC, but only IGP. For finish, Judith, I wait you in Puglia, in Alberobello. If you want to come to visit Trulli and the cellar, you are welcome. Also you, Anthony, of course. You can come.
Yes, I mean, that those white huts, that's fascinating.
Molto bene, molto bene. Okay.
Maybe an International Wine Tourism Conference in Puglia one day.
Okay. Next year, all in Puglia.
Yeah. They keep saying they want to do it in Puglia, but they never get around to doing it. So we'll see. There's a message in here, a private message. Roland's made a comment. Judith presented a lot of interesting topics. I will definitely be reviewing the replay. So there we go. So talking of replays, all the replays from all of the sessions over the last 2 days you can find on this link here, except for this morning's one, which is a bit of a disaster. We have to edit that so we get all the gremlins out. And so click on there. All of yesterday's sessions are there, and all of today's sessions except the first one will be there within 15-30 minutes or so. My technician's saying yes, and you'll get email to that effect. So thank you, Tommaso, for coming in. We're leaving the best to last. And also Judith, thank you for in your busy schedule for joining us for this program. I'm sure those that are watching the live interviews and more people who'll be watching the replays will be watching over and over again. I'll probably see on the YouTube a huge number of visits because people keep watching it again.
Well, if anybody gets really stuck, then just email me or tweet me or find me in person at the conference. And I'm always happy to give a little bit of help, especially because, like, for example, you've got events happening at a particular destination or a particular place. There's a special type of little bit of code markup in Schema that you can use that will help it go straight into Google search results for the area. So there are all sorts of little tips and tricks. It's not automatic. It's not going to be for every search of the area, but there are ways to get your event into the Google search results as well as your company. So there are all sorts of little tiny tips and tricks that will help your company and your business be more exposed.
Great, thanks. Okay, so thank you both, and we take the screen, and I'll just to say farewell and thank you to everybody who watched the live interviews, and thank you to everybody who's watching this replay and all of the other replays that we've put up on the website. So next up, we're back to Spain. Spanish Wine Week, a second edition, will be happening 9th to 11th of June. I see many of you have signed up already, so we've got Sarah Jane Evans giving a couple of sessions at the next event, so that's already worth a lot. And of course, all these webinars are free. There's a silly program keeps sending me around, and of course they're free for people to join. So bargain, can't do better than that. So thanks everybody. Thank you for all your wonderful comments. Thank you for all the great speakers we've had on the fantastic wineries, and we hope people connect as a result. So next up, Spanish Wine Week, 9th to 11th of June. Hope to see some of you there, if not all of you. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.